If you like baseball, you're in for a treat. Because my guest today was drafted by the New York Mets in the 1980 MLB draft. Following his career as a catcher, he transitioned into becoming an elite manager. He was manager of the Toronto Blue Jays from 2002 until 2008, and then became the manager of the Kansas City Royals. But to the love of us Jays fans, he returned to the Jays from 2013 till 2018. Now he hosts a phenomenal podcast called The Gibby Show. It's my absolute honor to welcome to Jake's Takes the man with the best personality in all of baseball, manager John Gibbons. What's up, Gibby? How you doing?
Jake, I tell you, well, that was some kind of introduction. But hey, I want to be like you, brother. Hey, you know what? I'm so excited you reached out to me and had me on my show. I'm impressed. You know, I'm gonna take some tips from you to get to do on my use on my show, man, to get this right.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Because you should know you're the reason I fell in love with baseball. Those 2015-16 Jays teams, yeah, I was a little boy. I was like 5 years old, I think. But I sat there for 3.5 hours straight just watching Jays games, watching our team be the number one team in our division. I miss those days. But you should know I never complained. Not once did I complain about the stupid speed of the game. We need this pitch clock garbage. No, we don't, man. No, we don't.
Oh, I love it, Jake. That a boy. Yeah, I'm right with you. If you really love baseball, and I know some games get long and drawn out and they're boring. Baseball can be boring sometimes, but you know what? When everybody loves the 11 to 10 games, right? Because there's action. Those games last 4 hours. Nobody minds that. It's just sometimes when baseball can slow down to a crawl. But I'm with you. You know, the game kind of happens naturally. But hey, sometimes you can't fight City Hall, right? You got to go along with it.
I'm not sure you remember. I don't remember which year it was, but there was a game against the Indians. I'm not sure the Cleveland Indians back then they were called the Indians. Then they changed the Guardians. But
16.
yeah, it was like 16 innings or something.
No, it was like
19, 19,
18 or 19.
19, 19.
Yeah.
Oh
But
my
that
God.
was in 2016.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
crazy. That game was not normal.
Wait, hey, well, you know what, Jake? I got thrown out of the game in the first inning, right? And Big Eddie Encarnacion was hitting first inning. He's up there, and Eddie never complained. We had some guys that complained a lot of hitters, Donaldson, Batista, but they were right a lot of times. The umpires would stick it to him. Encarnacion never complained, right? So when Eddie said something to the umpire, you knew something was wrong. And the umpire was, remember well, Vic Carapazzo. Eddie's up there. The Cleveland pitcher is Josh Tomlin. Real good control. And so he was throwing balls just off the plate about that much. He was calling them strikes. And so Eddie just snapped and he throws Eddie out. So I had to run out there. I got between Eddie and the umpire. He throws me out. So I went and sat in my office and it was like for 18 innings. I was already saw one.
Could
Eddie
have
got
called
thrown
me.
out, obviously.
Jimmy, you could have called me.
Oh man, we could have. We ended up getting beat too. If we called you, we might have won that game. But even at Russell Martin, it was on Canada Day. Russell Martin, the lone Canadian on the team, he got thrown out in about the 11th or 12th inning.
I remember watching that game with the players coming into pitch, and it was the first time I ever saw that. I thought it was hilarious. I was sitting there watching the whole thing, looking like I don't even know what. It was so funny.
Jake, too, we could have, if you'd have been around, if I'd known you were up there, we'd thrown a uniform on you. You might have pitched for us.
Yeah. It was like 50-mile-per-hour fastball. And they're like, oh, that's a great pitch. I'm like, what? Anyway, so where are you hanging out these days?
San Antonio, Texas is my home. I was born. My father was in the military. And my mom and dad are both from Boston, right? But we bounced around, with this job when I was very young. I was born out in Montana, and but then when I was going into fifth grade, he was stationed down in San Antonio, Texas, and I had two siblings, and he was stationed here for 13 years. That doesn't happen in the military. They usually move you around after every 2 or 3 years, right? But we're here 13 years, so I did all my schooling here, and this became home. And I've come back here ever since, and that's where I am right now. It's hot, brother. It's getting hot.
You ever come back to Toronto? Because if you come in the weather, you'll see in the winter, you'll see the exact opposite.
Oh, I know, Jake. It gets rough up there. But I was up there in April, and it was warm, man. It was like a summer day. Remember
Yeah,
for like opening day?
right now it's boiling. I don't know what's going on, but I'm happy about it. Like in the summer, it
Hey,
tends to
wait a
warm up.
minute. Wait a minute. Hey, boiling to you is what? How hot is boiling? I don't
Like
want to hear boiling.
anything
Don't
that's
give me the Celsius either. Give me the Fahrenheit.
85 Fahrenheit. Is that good for you? Because
Oh, that's nothing, man. That's like a cool day. It's over 100 degrees down here with humidity. I tell you what, I didn't, but the nicest summers I've ever spent were in Toronto,
what?
weather-wise, and yeah, I thought because occasionally
Oh,
you get a heat wave,
it
but
gets
the temperature was beautiful. I go down that lake all the time. I go in early in the afternoon, go down and walk or run on the lake, and then go back and then get ready for the ball game and everything. So I love it. I miss that place.
yeah. Now that I think about it, in the summer it gets really nice sometimes, like really, really nice. I know what you're saying.
Beautiful, but yeah, it's a trade-off for that winter can get a little raw.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it. Anyway, so you ready to get?
Ah,
Let's get right into the juicy stuff because there's no point on
all
asking
right.
safe questions if you're here, Gibby. Am I right?
Whatever you got, brother.
So the Jays just recently had a 4-game series against the Yankees. And boy, was it a tense series. We saw a pitcher get ejected, managers yelling at each other as if they wanted their heads cut off. And of course, Aaron Judge looking into the dugout with a side eye and then hitting a homer. Like, that's a little suspicious. Like, what was going on over there? Like, what do you think about it?
Jenkins, it was a little fishy, man. You know what? Guys try to steal signs. They've been doing that in baseball forever. You remember a few years ago in Houston, they were using technology, right? And then they were hitting the garbage can. Now that's now you're gone too far. Normally, what happens? The runner on second base, he'll still try to if he gets to catch your signs. He used to relay him. He might if he's on second base, the hitter's in the box, right? And if like we used to look for, sometimes it was pretty obvious. If the first step the runner on second base took with his right foot, it might have been a breaking ball. If he took a little step back towards the base with his left foot, and then came off, it was just like a fastball. So you could pick some of those things up, or some guys might, if it's a certain location, they get set and then they'll look back to see where the outfielder's in position and look back. Something as simple as stupid as that, right? But teams would get away with it. And then occasionally, guys, the first base coach, he could see sometimes the catcher's legs. He didn't close them up enough, so you could see him flashing the signs down there, right? And I've seen teams that, and then the first base coach would do something. He'd stand up or he'd bend over, would signal a pitch. Now that's all. That's part of the game. But if you get caught doing it, there's got to be some repercussions. Now it's not illegal, so the league's not going to do anything. That's when you used to have the old chin music, the old wake up call, and I know the Blue Jays complained about the coaches not being in the batter's box, but no coach ever gets in that batter's box because it's dangerous down there. The balls fly everywhere, right? And so they get a little far out or they get a little off. So my only thing is it's this, and it's in I've seen it happen because I was against for my team and against my team, especially as a player. Okay, if you want to do that, because Judge now he was in there. He said he was looking the dugout. No, because you know what? If he's not that distracted. He's such a good hitter. And he set a record last year for home runs. He's got better concentration than that, right? So then obviously the Blue Jays pitcher said he was tipping his pitches. Remember, it was Jackson. Okay. Well, what happens is if the pitcher is tipping his pitches, the hitter can look just right at the pitcher and tell what he's doing, right? You don't need to look into your dugout, okay? So, but what happens? I don't think he was looking into the first base dugout. I think he was looking at the first base coach, and he was tipping him,
Oh wow.
right? And that's what I think that was. And then do you ever hear anybody? you're still a young man, a good ethical young man. But you know, sometimes, very rarely, if somebody's cheating or something, they say, "Yeah, I was cheating. I got that." Never happens, right? It's like, come on, it's called. I guess you could say it's fudging. I don't know if you say it's lying or it's a white lie, or whatever, right? So in my day and age, what would happen? Okay, you can do that if you want. The league can't enforce it. It's not against the rules, but you might get a little chin music, or you might get one hit you right in the ribs just to say, okay, because that's a no-no, right? Just like if your team's doing it and your guy gets drilled, well, you caused your own problems, and that's what always stopped a lot of the funny business in the past. But now it doesn't happen anymore. And you're used to, you guys are such a hockey crazed country where they brawl all the time. You guys are used to that. You guys love that.
You know it. By the way, yeah, we all know about how Houston cheated and everything. It's a whole thing, but didn't the Red Sox cheat too? How come no one talks about the Red Sox being cheaters? We only talk about the Astros. What's going on?
Well, you know what's funny? Because they were the year that they had that investigation, Houston got nailed right first, right? Then they were investigating the Red Sox about the same thing because Alex Cora was the bench coach in Houston when that went on. They won the World Series. Then he got the Red Sox job, and they won the World Series. And it's funny when it happened to the Astros. AJ Hinch, the manager, is a friend of mine, and he called me and said, "Hey, I sent him a text when I saw that he got suspended. He got suspended by the league at first. Then an hour later, the owner fired him, right? So I sent him a text, hang in there, buddy, whatever. And then he calls me later that night and says, "Hey, you want this Houston job?" I said, "What?" He said, "I know the owner well. I'm going to throw your name in there if you want. I think you'd be perfect." I said, "I would love that job. It's close to home, but I don't like the circumstances. You're my buddy." Blah, blah, blah. He said, "Don't worry about that. It's no." So 2 days later, the owner of the Houston Astros calls me and said, "You want you to come on in for an interview?" So I went to Houston, spent 4 hours with the owner because they also fired the general manager, so they didn't have a general manager. Loved it. I thought I was going to get that job. And the next day, the day after I was there interviewing, Dusty Baker came in, and Dusty ended up getting the job. He's done a tremendous job. But so I didn't get that job. 2 weeks later, the Red Sox called, the other team under investigation, right? That same year. And they said, "Well, we're under investigation. Come interview. If something happens here, we're looking for a new manager," right? So I went up there and good interview. Didn't get obviously nothing happened. But other than Cora was suspended for a year. But since they didn't find anything, they were going to leave the bench coach Ron Renicky in because they didn't want too much turnover, right? So anyway, but to your point, the Red Sox, they were getting a little funny business maybe going on there. They just kind of put two and two together, but apparently they never found anything. But baseball, you don't even like to say cheating and all that because guys are looking for an edge and all that. But when you get a little carried away, when you got the technology and stuff involved, now we're stepping. But we also say too, hey, cheat if you want or whatever you want to call it at your own peril, because if you get caught doing it, you're gonna might be a little painful.
It would have been so fun if you come into that Houston Astros interview, you sit down like they're talking to you and they ask you a question, you take out a garbage can and go. And you like hit it once.
Oh,
Hit it
hey,
twice.
Jake,
It would have been I no, I could see you doing that, Gibby. That would be so funny.
You know what, Jake? That might have got me the job, man. I wish I knew you back then. Dadgummit. I knew it. What a great idea.
That would have been so funny. Anyway, I want to talk to you about Bo Bichette for a minute. Ever since Vladdy and Bo came into the league in 2019, they've been the cornerstones of this franchise. Yeah, Bichette was an all-star back in 2021, but Guerrero's been a two-time all-star, AL MVP finalist, Silver Slugger, and Gold Glove Award winner. But the truth is, Bichette's kind of been the better hitter, more consistent out of the two. Do you think Bichette has the argument to become the face of the franchise?
You know what, Jake? You want both of them, right? You want both of them to be Blue Jays their whole career because they're both that good. But why not have two faces? Because they're that good, and it is very tough to separate the two. Vladdy's Vladdy's strong. He's had a good solid year, but he's not hitting the home runs this year like he has, and he's struggled a little bit. Bo's just been on fire since day one, right? But they both came up together. They're both great friends. They were both signed by the Blue Jays. Wouldn't it be great if they both were Blue Jays and they were the cornerstones instead of the cornerstone for their whole careers? And that could happen. But yeah, you could. Somebody asked me at the beginning of the year because I always love Bo, but everybody's always criticizing his defense, right? I said, well, he's a young kid. He's still learning it, playing the toughest position on the field other than catcher. You're going to make mistakes when you're young and inexperienced, and he'll learn over time. He's turned out to have a pretty good year this year. I think maybe he had a couple errors early in the year. Other than that, he settled in pretty good. But I made the comment, he could be an MVP someday the way he swings the bat, And you look at what he's doing this year. I think they kind of push each other too. They're good buddies, and they kind of feed off each other. So I'd hate to see him. They're going to both cost a lot of money, that's for sure. But they have the money because every time you go to watch that game, the price you pay for that ticket. They got plenty of money to spend on those guys.
By the way, I wanted to ask you about Vladdy's homer and stuff. Like, what's going on? You think he's going to be able to bounce back? Because except for that one season where he had 48 homers, I think it was, he hasn't been a consistent home run hitter. You think he can get back to that?
Well, yeah, but he had like in the high 20s last year. The thing about Vladdy Jr., he's always been a great hitter, right? He's always been a hitter first. He's not one of those guys that goes up there just swinging for home runs, right? And he always, ever since he was born, he was hitting 300. So he gets his hits. He's a tough out. He's not a high strikeout guy that's going to chase things, right? And then but he's a human being like all of us, and you go through that sometimes, right? But I guess he only hit one home run at home this year or something like that? It's
Yeah.
something crazy, right? I heard the other day. Yeah, he's what? He's going to hit.
Might have been
Yeah,
none.
is one or maybe he
It might
might
have
not
been
even
none.
have any. You're
Yeah.
right. He might be. I guarantee he hits one, and sooner or later. But you know what, Jake? He's going to be such a good hitter. He's going to drive in runs. I wouldn't get so caught up in the home runs unless he's not hitting any. Because you know what? He'll drive in those runs with singles, doubles. And that I think the biggest compliment you give him is he's won the Gold Glove at first base, because that was kind of the knock on him too, was his defense, and he's worked hard at it. It's turned into the best first baseman in the league defensively.
100%, 100%. I had Dan Schulman on my show, I think it was 2021, and I asked him about this, and he told me, he's like, you can't expect home run hitter because he's a line drive hitter. He's an amazing hitter, but he's a line drive hitter. You agree with that?
Yes. Oh yeah, Danny's right on. Danny, what a great guy, isn't he?
He's an
Oh man, I
amazing
love
guy.
listening to him on there. You got such a soothing voice too. Yeah, he's right. He's a pure natural hitter. That's why he doesn't strike out a lot. He'll use the whole field. This game, the game of baseball a few years ago turned into a home run craze, right? Home runs are strikeout. Nobody cared if anybody struck out. You go back in the past in the history of the game, if you struck out too much, they didn't want you, right? They didn't care how many home runs you hit. So what excited everybody so much is Vladdy Jr. was the whole thing, man. He was a great hitter, and he's strong enough to hit a lot of home runs. You ever heard the name Kevin Mitchell? You're awful young. He was an old teammate of mine in the Mets back in the early '80s. In the minor leagues, he never hit more than 10 home runs a year, right?
Wow.
But he always hit 330. He always a great hitter, big strong guy. He gets to the big leagues. He won the MVP when he was playing for the San Francisco Giants one year, and he hit 40-something home runs, hit 300. So sometimes it takes a little while, and Vladdy Jr. is still young. You want him to be a good hitter. The home runs will come.
Okay, so the Baltimore Orioles are hot. Yes, you heard me right. The Baltimore Orioles are hot.
Yes.
For the first time since what? Those Adam Jones, Manny Machado days? Because
That's right.
since then, they've been tanking intentionally, throwing pitchers out there who got zero business pitching in the majors. No disrespect, but David Hess, Bruce Zimmerman, like these guys are known to be 5 to 6 ERA pitchers. But in return, it kind of paid off. They were able to draft Adley Rutschman and build a super stacked team. They haven't even spent a penny. Like, come on, the MLB's got to enforce some tanking rules, anti-tanking, something.
Well, I think they're trying to because I think they were adjusting the draft where if you had the worst record in baseball, it didn't guarantee you that first pick. It was always maybe like a lottery and like they do in the NBA. I'm not sure if that's in place or not. But you're right. It's like the haves and the have-nots. There's no middle of the road teams. There's really good teams, and the thing that they why they were so successful is they made some good draft picks, right? And
Yes.
they're turned into good players. Everyone that's drafted really high and doesn't always make it, right? So, but I agree with you. It's either in it to win or you're not. But you can remember after my last year, well, after the 2016 season, we got to the playoffs, wild card game, and then beat Texas. We were starting to get a little older, and you could tell, but we all knew that when the team started struggling a little bit, they were gonna break it down and go through a rebuild also, right? And so that's what took place in Toronto. You had those really lean years. They were able to acquire some good draft picks and some other players. And that's why the team got back into contention. And it was 2 years ago they won 90 games and missed the playoffs. Last year they got in the wild card. So that's teams do that. I think teams have always done that, but not to the extent they do now. It's like some of them could care less if they win. That's what it feels like. But that's not right. You got good fans want to go out there and see a good team.
100%, I agree. Anyway,
Yeah.
so the Jays just signed a great veteran center fielder this year. And Kevin Kiermaier actually has had a very good individual season. And yeah, he's known to be a really good vet, a great character guy, and we all know about his hard work and his defense. But when you were here, you had another guy that was kind of similar to Kevin, and that was Kevin Pillar. He was and will always be, no matter what, my favorite baseball player ever. Do you see any similarities between the Kevins?
Oh, I'm glad you said that. Yes, and I will get if you want to. I'll get you, Kevin, and I'll send him a note. You might get him on your show, Pilar. You
I had
know,
Pilar.
That's a-
I'm telling you, Pilar's the nicest man alive.
oh, you already had him on your show.
Yeah, he is so nice.
Oh man, you were so big time, man. I want some of your guests, man. I need some of your mojo, Jake. Yeah, you know what? They're very similar type players. I mean, you almost identical. They got the same name, right? But they play with reckless abandon. They sacrifice their body. They save the pitchers a lot of runs. They make great plays. They're both great base runners. You name it. They're they epitomize what you think a baseball player is, right? They're both enthusiastic. They both come to play every day. And they get banged up because they play so hard, and they sacrifice their body. But those are the kind of players you need, Jake, if you're going to win. You got to have some of those guys. You can't. You need your superstars but you need the guys with a lot of grit that run through the wall for you. They're like hockey players, man. You know what? Yeah, that's what they are. They got that hockey mentality, I guess I should say, and that's what it
100%.
takes. You got to have those. Yeah, you got to have that to win, brother.
Of course, of course. Anyway, last question, Gibby. That good?
Oh, you got it, pal. Fire
Oh,
away.
let's talk about Tampa, because this team just makes me sick. Shane McClanahan, Drew Rasmussen, Tyler Glasnow, Jeffrey Springs. They're just stacked with these incredible starters. Are the Rays finding these gems or are they just building them?
They do things right down there. But one thing you can count on, they all got great arms. So they find the great arms and they turn them into pitchers. So you got to tip your hat to them. And Kevin Cash, the manager down there, is a buddy of mine. He used to play for us in Toronto as a catcher. So he's doing a heck of a job. But they're if you look, they got after that great start, historic start, right? If you look at the standings today, they're only 3 games up on Baltimore. That's just how baseball is. Baltimore's playing extremely well, obviously, but it's every team hits a low. Marcus Stroman shut him out the other day, a 1-hit shutout. You see that complete game?
I saw
And
that.
then the Cubbies beat them 2-1 yesterday. So nobody wins them all. Everybody's vulnerable, but they have such tremendous pitching. But you know what? Really have a really good dynamic offense now too, with a lot of speed, so they can beat you in a lot of different ways. But it just shows you though, Jake, the Cubbies, right? The Cubbies, yeah, have a so-so year, right? They're about 500, maybe a couple games below 500. They go in there and they win the first two games against who everybody thinks is the best team in baseball. They get great pitching performances and they shut them out, shut them down for two games. They win today, thinking, dang, they swept the Tampa Bay. And our good friend Marcus Stroman was one of them.
Oh yeah, but just look what's going on with like Florida sports here. Miami Heat just made the NBA Finals. The Panthers just made the Stanley Cup, and the Rays have the best record in baseball. I mean, ever since Donald Trump's gone there, they just been winning, baby. I don't know what's going on.
Hey, the famous owner of the Oakland Raiders, Al Davis. You ever heard that name? You're young. He used to own the Oakland Raiders. I don't know if his son owns them now, but he was this kind of he was a different kind of cat, But all he said, his famous line was, "Just win, baby, just win." That's all it is. Just win, man. Like the Panthers, man. Whoever thought the Panthers were gonna? They knocked off the Bruins, and they knocked off the Leafs. Come on, now then they got was it Carolina?
Yeah, then they swept Carolina. And now they're playing Vegas. So
yeah, so it's like some things in some years it's just meant to be, And then like in Miami Heat, right? They played that one in game, and they had to really come back to win that game, right? And then they on this roll too. So that's a beauty of sports. And sports is kind of like life. You never know. You just keep plugging away, keep trying your best. You get knocked down, you get up, and you can still be a champion even if nobody expects it, right? Just like you're doing right here, kid. You're a champion. You're a young man. How old are you? 13?
yeah.
Man, I think I was playing with G.I. Joes when I was 13 or something. But look, you had a dream. You wanted to do something, and I guarantee you have some big dreams in your life. What you want to become?
Yeah, I'd say so.
What do you want to be when you grow up? You may not know yet, but what you got any desires?
Maybe something in the sports management. I don't know.
There you go, and I will guarantee you'll do it. Anybody that has the initiative like you do and say, you know what, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to reach out to people. You know what? You will be successful whenever you try. I will guarantee it.
Thank you so much, Gibby. It's been an incredible experience having you on my show. Did you have fun?
Jake, it's an honor that you asked me, if you want to know the truth. I had a blast. I just wish my show was this good.
Thank you, Gibby.